smoke rises just like a chimney and would have been great if the Murgos hadn't started throwing boulders down on our group. Hello there.
This is the last book, right?
For this series, yeah. Are you okay? You sound awful.
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm just getting really tired of you just ending the story.
I don't just end the story. We get to the end of the book and it stops.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. Gary and Silk and Belgarath are on their way to fight Torak, David and Goliath style. Sinedra is trying to raise an army. I'm promised a battle in this one, right?
Actually, yes. Sinedra was trying to raise an army to provide a distraction and to keep the Murgos out of the west. But Enchanters Endgame, published in 1984, begins with Garion being confused.
Well, yeah. It seems like that's his general state of being.
He's either confused or wise. There really is no in between. And we're going to answer some questions.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Well, there are two things we need to clear up. First, I've been calling the lands to the east the lands of the Murgos. The lands of the Angarax would be more accurate. Just like the Alorns were split up into different countries, the Angarax were too. The Murgos are just one country. The other groups would be the Grolums, who don't actually have a country. They became priests and they're everywhere. Then there were the Murgos, who were kind of the warrior class. They have their country of Murgos. The Nadrax, who became the merchants and lived in Garag Nadrak. And the Thuls, who were kind of the servant class, not exactly known for their brains, but they're big and brawny. I'm summarizing a lot here, as per usual. Oh, and there's also the Malorians, but they're far enough away in a big empire that they're kind of their own thing.
Jeez, that's a lot of enemies.
Yep. So our guys sneak across the border of Garag Nadrak as part of a Drasnian caravan and then split off to travel on their own. They disguise themselves for a time until they're impressed into the Malorian army.
I thought you said Maloria was so far away no one cared.
Yeah, I did. However, the Emperor of Maloria hates the King of the Murgos and wants to invade their land, cut down their trees, and dig up their earth. Wait. Anyway, the Malorians have been gathering up innocent gold miners, trappers, and vagabonds and forcing them to be part of their army. Silk doesn't appreciate this much, especially not with the Nadrak King looking for him for some reason. And Garion... Guy is the overlord of the West. Do I really need to explain why he shouldn't be part of the enemy army?
No, you do not.
Belgarath avoided capture because he was transformed into a wolf at the moment, and he tails the army for a few days until they meet a certain Nadrak, one they've met before. Anyway, the guy pretends he's had a little too much to drink as a distraction, and the rest of his people ambush the Malorians. The other prisoners are freed, but the Nadrak King really wants to meet Silk, so they are marched the rest of the way to the capital city where they meet the king in a tavern.
Not the palace?
Nope, because the Nadrak King has a sneaky plan. See, he doesn't like the Murgos or the Malorians and actually wants to ally himself with the Alorns.
Wait, what? I thought all of the Angarax were all following Torak and are evil.
Well, that's what all the Alorns thought too. But the Angarax are people too, and the Nadrak King doesn't want to fight. He thinks his people will be crushed by either the Murgos or the Malorians.
Is it possible?
Oh, completely. So Silk sets him up with a secret code word so he can contact the Alorns safely. Belgarath shows up to scare the poop out of the king, and the trio heads out. They pass through Marindland, inhabited by nomads who worship and summon demons.
What?
Yeah, Belgarath summons a demon. It's really freaky, but they're only stopped the once and make their way across the last countries before Garion meets Torak.
Dun, dun, dun!
Meanwhile, Sinedra's army is making its way east. Sinedra has finished all of her speeches, the Sindarian king has taken over all logistics, the Drasnian king is their prime strategist, and their general plan Actually, I think I need a map here. So here's the plan. The Murgo army is marching up from the south. The Malorians are coming across the Sea of the East. So, on our side, engineers, including Dernick, managed to lift the Alorn army and the Trek warships off a cliff, and they establish forts here. They do a lot of little attacks to distract the Murgos in the area. The Thulls don't really want to fight, and a whole lot end up defecting to work for the Alorns. The whole thing is planned to be a big distraction.
Except
Everyone... Oh, actually, before we cover that, there are a few things to mention.
Like, what?
Garion's cousin almost dying. The Tolnadrons pretending they're neutral, but sending their best general to make unofficial suggestions.
Back up. Wait. Garion's cousin almost dies?
Yep. Here's the thing. Sinedra and her buddies are teenage girls. One is married to Leldrin. Sinedra is engaged, but Garion's cousin Adara is secretly in love. They were bored and decided to ride outside the fort and were ambushed by Murgos. They were saved by Heder and a couple other men who'd been riding around to take part in these distractions. Heder started yelling at them and totally missed that there was still a Murgo alive with a bow and arrow. Garion's cousin got in the way of the arrow.
Oh no.
Yeah, she thought she was going to die and made this whole big speech. She was a little bit embarrassed when Polgara told her that she would actually live.
Yeah, I get that.
The other sorcerers also joined the army, which was good.
And let me guess, we'll get to that later, right?
Nope, we're at it. So all of this was supposed to be diversionary and a stalling tactic. Put the ships in the Sea of the East to slow the Malorians and the rest of the army to slow the Murgos. So they get their ships onto the river here, and with the help of the Olgos, take the city that night. Catapults are dismantled, and all is going according to plan. But there, on the southern horizon, torches march closer. The Murgo army had approached unnoticed and arrived at the worst possible time.
Oh no.
The Alorns begin to regroup to fight them, only to find a second army approaching from the north. The Malorians had arrived.
Oh no.
The Alorns are in the worst possible position.
Oh no.
Are you broken?
Uh...
The Alorns send the ships on. They're separated on either side of the river. As they await the armies, shadowy figures rise out of the ground. These figures cannot be touched. If you touch them, they draw lightning to attack the men around them. Polgara managed to banish the shadows. Not one of the Grollems who had summoned them would ever have a shadow again in their life.
But physics.
Don't matter as much when sorcery is involved. Polgara is exhausted, but a storm is rolling in. A storm ready to deliver hailstones, the smallest of which is the size of a hen's egg. As the hail, rain, wind, and lightning strike, the four sorcerers work together to turn the storm back onto the enemy. Mendorlin leads the charge, and the battle on the north bank begins. The remaining soldiers are pulled from the city. The Grollems try to thicken the fog and destroy any visibility. Polgar and another sorcerer have to reach from miles away to stir up a breeze to blow the stifling fog away. It's too much for the Grollems, and a touch too much for Polgara. She collapsed.
Oh no.
Stop that. It's a good half day before the Chirek ships are far enough away. The army on the north bank is cut off with no way to retreat. The Murgo king has fallen in battle, and the fight on the south bank is lessening. Desperately, Sinedra calls Belgarath for help.
They have phones?
No, well, not really. It's the amulet Garion gave her. That's what lets her call telepathically. Belgarath talks her through waking Polgara and then goes radio silent. Even telepathic shouting could wake Torak at this point. As Sinedra follows Belgarath's orders and wakes Polgara, a group of soldiers approach. They're disguised as Sendars and capture Sinedra, Polgara, Dernick, and the little boy Erend.
Oh! So, we lost. I sat through 4 books, and everyone lost.
Hey, deep breaths. We haven't lost yet. Remember the Nadrak king? He wanted to ally himself with the Alorns, and now is his time to shine. He has his people turn on the Malorians and open an escape route. The Alorn army withdraws.
Yeah, but all the important people are prisoners.
And they're being sent to Stolmishrak, the place Torak waits.
Wait. Garion's whole plan was to avoid a war and putting people in danger. None of that was avoided.
Remember, everything happens for a reason. In this case, it's because of the prophecies. If the good prophecy wants the whole ensemble for the finale, then the whole group needs to be there.
Even the kid?
Even the kid. But back to Garion and company. Garion has been having some nightmares.
Finally! A normal reaction!
Torak doesn't actually want to fight. See, he doesn't know who's going to win either, and he's trying to tempt Garion with visions of a family in order to get him to not fight. Garion manages to stave it off for a while before he gets fed up and outright challenges Torak.
I retract my statement. Garion has no brains.
Yeah, because Torak might not be completely awake, but there are other things out there. So their sneaking intensifies. They're nearly caught by Torak's hounds, Grollems who are turned into dog-like creatures. But a storm broke, disguising their smell.
Was it the storm that Polgara stopped earlier?
No, but the prophecy started this specific storm a while ago. They sneak into the city and make it down to the basement where Torak, Zedder, and the others await.
Right. Cheese guy.
Long ago, Zedder was one of the followers of Alder, just like Belgarath. He thought he could trick Torak, be a spy, steal the orb back when the first war ever broke out. But Torak was much more powerful than he thought. Zedder has been in Torak's service for years and has hated so much of it.
Yeah, but it sounds like he chose it.
Or was it the destiny the prophecies made for him? Philosophy aside, Garion, Silk, and Belgarath hang out just outside the door, eavesdropping. They hear Zedder's story, why he left Alder, how he found Erend, and one other thing. We know Dernick has always been protective of Polgara. What exactly Zedder was doing on the other side of the door is anyone's guess, but Dernick must have seen it as a threat to Polgara.
He
Attacked Zedder.
Oh.
And Zedder fought back. Belgarath blasted the door to find a terrified Sinedra, a devastated Polgara, and Dernick's lifeless body. Belgarath loses it. He attacks Zedder, and it's not a full-blown magic battle like his fight with Tuchik. Belgarath tackles Zedder, just straight up pummeling him. He opens a crater in the floor, and buries Zedder alive, trapped forever.
Good.
And then Torak wakes up.
Not good.
Torak begins his day by chucking Belgarath across the room and commanding Polgara to come to him. The will of a god is almost impossible to resist, and Polgara, though she hated him with every fiber of her being, was drawn to him. Until Garion reminded her of Dernick, of how much she had meant to him, and that reminder of love was just enough for her to refuse the god of the Angarax. Torak swings his sword to destroy her, and Garion stops him. The final battle has begun.
Man, I need popcorn for this.
Torak and Garion grow. They become giants for the showdown. Garion strikes at Torak's blind side, but Torak is more than skilled. Lightning strikes, Grollems run, Garion was down. Torak is still trying to talk him out of this fight, but Garion is every bit as defiant as Sam at bath time.
Does he talk like she does?
Hear me, maimed and despised god, he grated from between clenched teeth. You are nothing. Your people fear you, but they do not love you. You tried to deceive me into loving you. You even tried to force Aunt Paul to love you. But I refuse you, even as she did. You are a god, but you are nothing. In all the universe, there is not one person, not one thing that loves you. You are alone and empty, and even if you kill me, I'll still win. Unloved and despised, you'll howl out your miserable life to the end of days. And with that, Torak dropped all defenses. Garion finished him quickly.
Yeesh. No one loved him?
It wasn't true, but it was necessary. The other gods, Torak's brothers, came then. Ol also came to mourn his son. But then Erend did a thing.
What thing did Aaron do?
He marched right up to Ol, pointed at Dernick, and said, Erend. While not even the gods were allowed to bring someone back from the dead, the prophecy had an idea. Garion could do it.
Right, like he did with the cult.
Exactly. However,
Ugh, there's always something.
in this case, two somethings. Ol asked Belgara, since Dernick was an ordinary man, would she become an ordinary woman to be with him?
And she says yes, of course.
Yep. And then Mara flat out refuses to allow it.
What? Why?
Because all of his people are dead.
But what about the girl they found?
Yeah. Belgarath proposes that exact thing. Mara is satisfied, and with the help of the gods, the orb, and Erend, Garion brings Dernick back to life.
Yay!
What? That's it? That's how the story ends?
Not quite. They all go back to Riva. Polgara marries Dernick. Garion marries Sinedra. There's like 3 more weddings hinted at in the future. Dernick reveals he is now a sorcerer, and they all live happily ever after until the next series.
There's more?
Yeah, but it's a separate 5-book series, and you said you never wanted to do this again, so we'll see if they pop up again one day. For now, I made a thing.
And what a glorious thing it is. Well, I guess I'm off to find the next one.
Yeah, no, I think I'll get the next one. Stay safe, don't die or anything. I'll see you next time.